Doc Leeson here, the podcasting beast from the East with the Professor John Gotti, the king of RNG, the troll master, the data analyzing ninja. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the conqueror of his own fate, the Terminator, Prof. Adamus, Professor Omega, the cleaner. How you doing there, boy?
I'm definitely doing pretty good. Uh, I just continue to be the wise man for our reigning, defending, undisputed podcasting champion, the tribal beast, the head of the table, Los Tranquilo himself, the Sultan of Squat, the Pied Piper of podcasting, the sanitizer, Doc Leesner. How you doing, man?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing good. Oh, yeah. We had some breaking news yesterday.
That's saying it
The
lightly.
Yeah, a lot of breaking news. I don't even know where to really
I
start.
mean, let's start off with the retirement that was
Okay,
inevitable.
inevitable. Not really inevitable, but it's a little column A, a little column B when
He
you really
said the
think about it.
line. He said the line. Of
I
course,
did.
folks, we're talking about Thomas Edward Brady Jr. officially through him and not through anyone else, stating his retirement on his Instagram page yesterday. And of course, even though people were lording onto him great accolations on Saturday, it wasn't so much yesterday. And then not too far after the official statement came out, of course, people had to start nitpicking. Doc,
Yeah, the nitpicking was a little immature. I didn't think that it was a big deal. I didn't honestly. I didn't think it was a big deal. I figured he would want to do something separate for New England. I mean, people, I guess, are upset that he didn't do New England first, but it's like, I mean, they did kind of throw him away at the end, thinking he was done. I think everybody did. Everybody wrote him off, you know. So, yeah, I think him doing the Buccaneer organization first, giving him a chance in his old age to, to come in and learn a new
not
system
only
where
not
everybody
only
was
just learn a new system, but to really show those naysayers,
right.
that he could still go. And he had himself, I mean, honestly, you kind of talked about it too. He had himself an MVP caliber season.
Right. I mean, and for him to walk away on top, is great. I know
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey will never forget the fact that, he gave up the last touchdown. And it was a beautiful throw too. Just to show like a culmination of, hey, I still can do this if I want
Oh
to,
yeah. Well, I mean, he
but I'm
kind of
choosing to
showed
walk
that to
away.
everyone last season. Like, it's
Mhm.
not like he had. I don't even think he had double-digit interceptions each season.
Um,
Has he?
that's a good question. I had Chris. Can we get a number crunch on that? He
Yeah.
had
This is
12.
this is this is what I do, folks.
He
But
did. He had 12. He had 12. Chris just gave
12 to
me
how many freaking touchdowns?
43.
Okay, that's a
And I mean,
pretty good ratio to me.
outside of the usual, some of the usual suspects, the Aaron Rodgers, the was I think, well, I can't count Mr. Wilson because he didn't play the whole season, but a lot of QBs did cut down on the interceptions, but 12 again, probably probably 5 to 7 of them weren't his fault, but they don't really count those kind of things. But I do like the fact that we're already kind of the media's already kind of moved on to say, well, who can replace Tom, right? And we talked about this a little bit, but just a quick list here from Bucks Nation,
Okay.
and of course, obviously, the aforementioned that I've been mentioning since probably last year is Aaron Rodgers.
I'm
That's
telling you,
the
if that
easy,
happens, like
yeah, yeah, the biggest read of all time.
I'm,
It has
I'm
to be.
sending Doc $400 on strength.
Yeah, that's the biggest read of all time. Obviously, you got that I mean, I mentioned Jimmy G yesterday. I could see that
In fact,
happening.
if that wait, real quickly, if Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams both go to the Buccaneers, I'm sending Doc
That's not
$500.
happening. That's not happening. That can't happen unless we don't sign Chris Godwin back, and that's something completely different. But yeah, that I don't see that happening. But that would be amazing if he decided to take a big pay cut to come to Tampa to play with Mike Evans, and somehow we kept the band together. That would be fantastic. But I don't see that happening. But we have Russell Wilson, um, Deshaun Watson, which I'm not seeing. Um, there's a Derek Carr sighting here. I know, Mr. Sims, mentioned Kirk Cousins, right?
Yikes.
Right.
Yikes.
The aforementioned Jimmy G. The list we saw yesterday mentioned Teddy Bridgewater, so that would make some sense. And of course, I said it yesterday. I mean, I highly doubt it happens, but if the money's right, maybe they bring Jameis back.
That is
Uh,
possible.
it's highly possible. So the Bucks have obviously Kyle Trask and Blaine Gabbert on the roster. Bruce Arians has already said he's comfortable going forward with those two. Um, Jason Light said, "Hey, we'll see. We're gonna explore every avenue." But shout out to Tom Brady. I mean, 2 years is a good amount of time. Two back-to-back playoff appearances, one Super Bowl. I mean,
I mean,
you
that's
can't
that's
even.
more than what many of the quarterbacks who are playing today were able to accomplish in their entire career. Not any
Yeah,
slash to them, but it just shows a different mindset, a different beast. You know, you know how everyone talk about the Mamba mentality in the
yeah,
NBA.
yeah.
Maybe we should start talking about the Brady mentality in the NFL.
No, absolutely. I agree.
But as Doc mentioned, people didn't really care about that crap because the big news that dropped yesterday afternoon, one Brian Flores, former head coach of the Miami Dolphins, filing a class action lawsuit against the NFL and several NFL teams. Doc, what is this lawsuit about?
I mean, I think it's something that me and you talked about.
I mean,
We
this has been, you know what? You want me to tell you what the perfect analogy of this is? This is exactly what we were talking about when it came to the NCAA and players getting paid underneath the table. It's something we know,
NIL.
but we don't
Oh, you mean
really
not
talk
before NIL
before NIL.
boosters and
Yes,
such.
we
Okay,
know
yeah.
it happens. It's just something that isn't put out to the public to know.
You know, and it kind of reminds me. I know you watched that Flemlo video that one day, and he was talking about the movie The Program.
Hmm.
And obviously that's a big movie, and I remember a part where Omar Epps was at a party, and the linebacker received an envelope, and then he received an envelope, and obviously it had money in it, and he's like, "Hey, I thought we weren't supposed to take any money from boosters." He was like, "Don't worry about it, man. You know, you might get $1,000 this night, but you start getting some playing time, you're gonna get $3,000 to $5,000." And it's
Yep.
like you don't really hear about it, but obviously these envelopes are being passed around. But the allegation that Mr. Who was that? That's not Cross. What's the name of that owner for the Dolphins? Let me look it up here really quickly here. Why do I keep forgetting these guys? I mean, not that they're important. I mean, I don't really care about the
It's
Dolphins,
Ross,
but
Stephen
um,
Ross.
Stephen Ross, that's his freaking name.
Yeah, I was like, who you like? I know why you said Cross.
Yeah, yeah, because we just talk about Killian. Yeah, that's probably why it's in my mind, Killian Cross. But
Carrying
Miss
Cross. That's
Carrion Cross,
Killian Dane
Killian
was the other.
Dane.
Yeah.
Is he on the list too?
No.
No. Hopefully he doesn't make
No.
any lists. But anyway, Mr. Ross was, allegedly trying to pay Brian Flores to tank, which tanking is tough, and that's the part that I don't like. So here's the thing I don't like. So you're telling a guy, "Hey, I will pay you to tank," and then us fans, like me in particular, I'm gonna be like, "Man, why is that guy getting such a long tenure?" He's losing. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the heck is going on? But
Hmm.
then behind the scenes, they're being paid to lose, and it's
Yes.
like, well, what the bleep? So it's like for him, if he gets paid to lose and then, after that third year gets fired, that's not fair.
And that's what I was going to go with too.
Yeah,
Now
that's not fair.
suddenly you're tanking because the ownership wants you to. You
Right.
you you complete that piece of the job. So now you got draft picks with
Hmm.
some of the top players in college
For the
to
next
come in,
coach.
but you're really doing that for the next coach.
For the next coach. So now you're a transitional champion. Oh, you're a transitional champion.
A transitional potential champion because it doesn't always work.
It doesn't. But in Flores' case, it didn't because, he said, forget that. I'm trying to win.
Yeah. And they
You
could have made
know,
it into the playoffs.
they could have. So, each year, I mean, they've gotten better. Like they compete. Um, and I don't know. That's a tough one. But also there's the Bill Belichick portion. Obviously, Bill text Brian like,
My
"Hey, I
my
heard
my gut is telling me he did that on purpose.
who Bill?
My
You
gut is
think Bill?
telling me he did that on purpose.
You, you think so?
I think so. He won't admit it. But of course, I'm going with my gut. I'm not saying this
You
is.
think it's to get him back in New England, or
I
is it
think
because he
for
left New
him,
England?
it's more of he understands that Brian Flores is a heck of a coach. Of course, he came from his
Mhm,
coaching tree, and he wants him to
mhm,
have a chance. And he's like, well, yeah, the Giants would be a great situation. They got rid of both their head coach and GM. They're working with a blank
mhm.
slate. They have
Blank
an
slate.
opportunity to get a new QB if they really want to.
Sure.
But then they brought in a GM who already had an idea of who they wanted already,
Mhm.
allegedly,
Allegedly.
and was doing interviews more of a which is hilarious because we talked about this in the business world, which is insane.
Yeah.
Like
I,
it's more of a you gotta meet this check mark of number of people you have to interview before you make a decision, but you kind of already know who you want already.
yeah, and it's
Now,
kind of
now, now,
interesting. What?
I don't think Belichick expected to turn it into a class action lawsuit, but he's
Of
like,
course.
hey, I just want you to know, like, they already made their decision, so don't go into there thinking, if you have a great interview, you may have a chance. Like, I'm letting you know right now, they already know who they want. It just so happens that it's not you.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, and there were some other situations he mentioned, John Elway,
Yeah,
which,
the Broncos brass going into the Super Bowl
yeah,
intoxicated, which is a really bad look.
that's a bad look. I mean, obviously, you would need some proof for that,
Well,
but
and of course, unfortunately, that situation is hearsay.
right. And again, I said this, there haven't been any just off the wall bad hires. Like, yeah, these are all coordinators,
Adam
for some
Adam
pretty
Gase.
successful teams. Yeah, yeah. See, I'm saying there's no Adam Gases here, right? There's no random people just getting hired that you're like, I don't know about that one. You know what I'm saying? But here's a guy, right? Here's a guy who really was turning the corner
Hmm.
with the Dolphins, and
He
now
was
you hear
10
that
and
not
6,
only was he turning,
10 and 6
yeah,
last season,
right, nine
and
and
then
seven or
nine
eight
and
and eight,
9 and 8 to end
yeah.
this season.
So you think about it. Here's a guy who turned around a franchise, number one, you know, battled with a quarterback that he didn't want,
Nope.
all at the same time. His owner is telling him to tank. So and I'm sure the salary cap was held fist tight. like, hey, don't sign these people. You know what I'm saying? I really want to tank to get a high draft pick. And it's like this guy still had people going out. You would have never known.
Nope.
Remember
They
on that
still out
Thursday
there.
night game? Yeah, Thursday night game, they was dominating the
I
Ravens. You know what I'm
know.
saying? And here's a guy talking about, hey, we want you to tank. That's do. You know what I'm
And
saying, Johnny?
this is where we have the situation of it's important to keep your receipts.
Yeah.
And Brian Flores have kept many receipts
Right.
outside of the Broncos situation. He's kept many receipts, and other coaches are now coming out to speak on the same thing. And
Right.
this is going to look really bad on the league.
And the problem is that now it's like, and I said this to you yesterday, a team that was looking to hire him, like what happens now? Like, because now it's going to seem like this is just in response to the
Well,
class
yeah.
act.
Well, I mean, now it's not really much, that's going to happen because everything's going to be looked at under a huge microscope now. Like, we're
Right.
not saying that he's, going to become the second coming of, a Belichick or something like that. When to get into a team, like it's going to take time to mold the team into the way that happens. But unfortunately, whatever team that hires him on, the media is going to be looking at every single game like,
Right.
well, that's why they brought him in because he's a go getter. Then they lose a game. They're like, well, this is why they didn't bring him in because they probably shouldn't bring him in
Yeah.
because he's too distracting and it turns
So we're
into
getting
like
Kaepernick cap watch all over again.
exactly,
We're getting
exactly.
cap
And it's
watch.
funny that you mentioned Kaepernick
Uh oh. Uh oh.
because Morton Anderson on his Twitter yesterday, and I
Not
didn't
Morton
know if you
Anderson.
had
Not
a
the
chance to
punter. The punter,
see
Morton Anderson.
the punter. Yes, exactly.
Oh God.
He was
What do you
asked
say?
on Twitter whether or not this situation is similar with Kaepernick, and he said no.
Let me pull it up. I want to. If it's gonna be here, I want to read it verbatim. If it's still up here, let's see. Let's see what you got,
Chris
Morton.
Mortensen, sorry.
Oh, Chris Mortensen. Okay, the Mort report.
Yes.
Gotcha. Oh, that might be even worse. But what do you got?
What, as far as what he said?
Yeah.
Oh, it was
I'll,
basically that. He was basically saying that this isn't the same as Kaepernick.
mm,
Like he was basically saying that this has more weight compared to the Kaepernick situation.
I agree because even though Kaepernick was fighting for the cause, at the end of the day, it was about injustice from the policing standpoint, equality on the outside. This is talking about equality on the inside of
Inside.
the NFL. And that's way different. Now we're talking about equality inside and outside. But
Yep.
right now, he hasn't really brought that into the fold yet. Right now, it's like, hey, we're going to these interviews, expecting to get a really fair shot. And that's just not happening. That's just not happening. So, yeah, that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. But
I can't wait to hear more about what's going on because it's very, very important.
yeah, yeah, more, and I'm sure more nuggets are gonna drop. Not the Denver ones, but more nuggets are gonna drop, and we'll find, some of the things that come up are probably gonna be even more shocking. Um, but hopefully, we can get some more real knowledge.
Oh,
Some
and just
some.
real quick to add more context for the Chris Mortensen comment, he stated and he retweeted the Cameron Wolf tweet. He says the
Hmm.
lawsuit filed by Brian Flores is as courageous and, in my opinion, as necessary an action that I can remember in covering 50 years of
Of
sports.
course.
And someone
Oh,
asked more than cap, and he said yes, in my opinion.
oh, okay. Yeah, way more. I mean, I guess I got told you yesterday, like Kaepernick's been fighting injustice pretty much all his life. If you go by what it shows on Netflix, he obviously he's mixed. He's adopted to an all-white family. He lives in a, you know, pretty, I would say, dominantly white area. He's going in doing things, and then when he goes out, and I watched up to maybe episode 3 or 4 when he's playing baseball. He goes up to these certain towns, and people are staring at him funny, because obviously he's like one of very few black people. And that's kind of the representation. It's like, we talked about owners, we talked about coaches, we talked about players. Obviously, African American dominates the player population,
Hmm.
right? But when it comes to coaches, slim, many assistants, a lot
A
of
lot of
black assistant
assistants.
coaches.
Yep.
But the head coaches,
Coaches
very
slim.
slim. Yeah.
GMs even more slim.
Slimmer.
Presidents slimmer, and then owners nilch.
Zilch, Nilch, Blilch, Rilch, all the itch that you can
Also,
get.
I just got a notification of a Hugh Jackson tweet saying that he stands with Brian Flores and he can back up every word that he's saying.
Well,
So
and
receipts,
somebody,
the receipts are starting to come out there because someone
yeah,
stated that the Browns done this.
I'm sure. I'm sure many teams have done. I'm pretty sure many teams have done this, and there's no real basis for it either, and that's the part that really stinks. Like there's no real basis for it. So, well, I'm interested to see what comes out of
Oh yeah,
this.
I mean this is going to dominate the entire offseason. And I'm
Which
kind of
is
glad this is happening before Super Bowl week.
yes, agreed, agreed.
So we
But I
can
guess
spend Super Bowl week really talking about the Super Bowl.
please. So I guess the last two things here, obviously we talked about Jimmy G a little bit. He's on the trade block officially with the 49ers, hoping
Yeah,
to
he
find the
he
right
knows he knows that
destination.
his days were numbered. So
And that's fine. I mean, the team's going to get a really good quarterback. You got some quarterback needy teams, obviously the Bucks, and the newly formed Washington Commanders.
yeah, it's already looking yikes by them. By the way,
Yeah, I think I saw one fan say, "That's it, Commanders. I can't do it. I'm gonna put my
that's
fandom.
that is a grain of salt compared to the.
Hold up, hold on. I'm gonna put my fandom into the transfer portal."
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I like that. That was pretty clever. But this is part where I
Uh,
said yikes. There is now hashtag Let's Go Commies.
oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! 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 Not commies. Oh no! Come on!
Yeah,
Come on!
they're now saying let's go commies, followed by please don't arrest me, FBI,
Yikes!
with
Yikes!
hashtag take over DC. Like this is getting bad already.
Yikes!
And this is just
Yikes!
day one.
They freaking
But
won.
they're currently, of course, the Washington Commanders are going around DC handing out merch for the Commanders.
Yeah, that just sounds bad. Just as bad as the news we got this morning about that dang groundhog. 6 more freaking weeks of winter, you little sucker.
Yeah. Depending on the area of the US that you're currently at, please stay safe with the upcoming
Exactly.
storm about to hit.
Yes.
Stay
Yeah, we
inside if
had
you need
ours.
to,
Yeah,
please.
we had ours. But Johnny, I know that people heard this podcast on their favorite podcast platform, but if they didn't, they can always go to our website at www.debateamongstfriends.com to review this episode as well as all the previous. Be sure to tune in tomorrow as we go over more news, more analysis, and the reads.